So I jokingly said I would rather be watching these guys, but I don't think that joke holds up much longer. Here we go with the next set of Iron Fist. Welcome to the heart of the stories we tell. My name is Rob, and tonight I will be reviewing the next few episodes of Iron Fist. And, am I frustrated as I watched that first one. Alright, like I said before, adaptions I understand are different. I even pitch my own from time to time. I also understand that this isn't the comic book at all, and that there are things that just have to be changed. We've seen more realistic takes on all three of the other Netflix series. In fact, I'd have to say that the one of the greatest parts of Luke Cage and Jessica Jones was its realism. And I also have to say that one of the worst parts of Daredevil Season 1 was how realistic it was. Well, as realistic as you can get when you're talking about a person jumping from building to building and who has sonar sight. Alright, yeah, realism went out the window a long time ago. Never mind. Let's throw this up here and get started, though. So once again, it's stop. Spoiler time. Okay, so we're going to get started with episode 7. And episode 7 got me pretty heated right off the bat. And, well, first it was pretty heated because they had a cup of coffee. And they don't like coffee. Alright, Iron Fist's origin. He says that the title of Iron Fist is passed down each generation, but he doesn't go into any detail. And for all of the sidetracks this series has taken so far, I sit there and I go, why, oh, why didn't he tell the origin of the Iron Fist? Again, like I said before the spoilers, I get it. We do realism. We don't want necessarily all the supernatural. But for God's sake, we have gotten so much usage out of flashback. The idea of what Iron Fist is. By the way, a dragon is born every time a new Iron Fist is created in the comics. Now, when that dragon gets old enough, it has the power of the Iron Fist within it. The only way when one Iron Fist dies for another one to get that power is to defeat that dragon in combat. We literally have the most exciting, badass flashback we could have. But nope, we just have him standing around and sometimes him meditating on a mountain. And, then we barely ever get to see the actual Iron Fist in use. I mean, geez, how hard would it be, even if they didn't animate it, even if they didn't show the fight with the dragon, for him to say the words, I had to fight the dragon, I had to punch a dragon in the heart, and this symbol on my chest is the dragon reincarnate into me to become the living weapon known as Iron Fist. That alone would have been so badass. But we have all these things where people are just like, so what's the Iron Fist? And it doesn't matter which character it is. At the end of the day, if you're asking what the Iron Fist is, I think we should have an explanation, especially 7 episodes in. And then comes the question as to whether or not this guy, Henry, is actually a villain or a hero, or just a supporting cast member. And of course, like the bum in the first episode, it doesn't really matter, because he's just cannon fodder for additional death. It's to the point where I wonder who actually is supposed to be supporting cast in this, other than the Daughter of the Dragon and the Night Nurse. Honestly, I think that a lot of this series is just kind of shock value at this point, too. Like, oh, and now Ward kills his father because that's what we've been building to, and there you go. And then episode 8 starts. And episode 8 is pretty much just Ward having a breakdown and Iron Fist going to China. That sums up the entire episode right there. But I would like to just point out that it's kind of funny. We have a lot of Easter eggs in this episode. The one that stands out, of course, is when Ward's sister tells him, yeah, I have all this blackmail material on the board. I hired a private investigator. She was worth every penny when she wasn't drinking. Gee, I wonder who that could be. We also have more references to other heroes throughout the episode, but again, it's mostly the Night Nurse and the Daughter of the Dragon and the Iron Fist going to fight in China. They follow Madame Gao to a factory, and we do have an epic showdown. Up till now, I've been giving Finn a lot of shit about his choreography, but the fight with the Drunken Master was spot on. And the repartee was pretty cool, too. I liked the fact that the drunken master even told him, hey, remember that vow you took? You were supposed to be defending your city? Well, I'm actually defending my door. I'm doing my job, and you're not doing yours. Which is actually apt, because if you think about it, there's two jobs he's actually not doing, because he took on a job as Danny Rand, and he took on a job as the Iron Fist, and he's actually doing neither because he's going off to China. Now, as for the Claire Temple part, her episodes are always great. Rosario Dawson is an awesome actress, and she's doing a good job at tying the series together. I liked the little reference to her saying that the guy she likes is not available. That would be Luke. But I also liked the fact that she fought. When Madame Gao sent those guys and said, kill the women, for a second, I really thought it was going to be Iron Fist just defending them. But no, they gave as good as they got. And Claire even got a few good hits in. And I'm glad, because she's definitely becoming one of my favorite characters. Hence why, when all was said and done, I still think that the episodes should be more about these guys. Now, this does also lead me to another question, one that I have for you down in the comments. Just fair warning, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm starting to think that there's nothing they can actually hold Madame Gao on. If you think about it, every bit of evidence they have would be super tainted, and she's friends with Kingpin, and she's friends with several other criminal elements. There's no way you can say that they're going to have anything to hold her on. Maybe next episode will almost immediately begin with the fact that this was a bad plan and that they really have no clue what they're doing, but we'll see for now. I have to walk away for a minute, so I'm recording this now, and we'll get the next two episodes before I post. I will say, the scene with him iron fisting almost through her, but actually hitting the door was awesome, and the fight sequence with the katana was also awesome. And once again, Colleen Wing steals the show, because she's the better fighter out of show. But what about episode 9? Well, let's take a look. This one has some really cool stuff, but I'm going to start with the weird first. Let's start with the fact that the two siblings are definitely not heroes or villains. And Henry, their father, Mr. Meacham, in the comics is just an outright villain. But in this one, up until now, I've been sitting there saying I don't get what they're doing with him. And that's not unusual for the Netflix series. They change things all the time. Take things that throw you into curveballs. And I'm still waiting for the punching of a dragon thing, and I'm still going to complain about some editorial things. But the Meachams themselves definitely are well-rounded characters that we've gotten to know over this whole time, so I'm going to give them credit for that. But they're all having bits of breakdowns this episode, between Ward actually having a breakdown and being in jail, and, well, not jail, in the psych ward, which is another trope that I think could be done away with, and the father just completely going batshit crazy, returning from the dead. I mean, cuckoo, cuckoo. I do wonder what that means for the upcoming Elektra in the Defenders, because let's be honest, if every time she dies she loses a bit more of herself, that character could get ruined very quickly. Now, then comes the Iron Fist part, and let me explain. As a comic book fan, the Iron Fist is way more than just punch really hard. He has all sorts of supernatural abilities with it. And yes, we don't really get to see them for the most part until now, but now we have this sensei guy, and he is going to teach him how to use it to heal. But healing wears him out, which goes back to that whole, oh, I can't summon the Iron Fist because I used too much of my chi in the last fight, which gives me this whole D&D times per day headache that I hate so much. If he's been trained as the Iron Fist, I don't understand why they don't let him be trained as the Iron Fist. But it appears that he isn't. He doesn't know what he's doing, he doesn't know how his power set works, and yeah, this is all year one, but it's kind of annoying because he spent 15 years raised in a monastery teaching him this. I'm interested to see what Kung Lao was, and hopefully in the next episode or two, we're going to find out why it is that the Iron Fist was never trained in how to use the Iron Fist. But okay, let's go on to the next one. Episode 10 has some deep cuts into the mythology of Iron Fist. And we start off with the fact that Colleen Wing is a member of the Hand, and has been since the beginning, and the Hand has been manipulating him, and the Hand wants him, and there might be two hands. Well, I guess everyone has two hands. Babylon 5 reference for the win. Alright, so, he doesn't know because his training went sideways, he says. And I'm kind of curious about that because the Iron Fist in the comics never had that problem. We don't see what's been going on with Claire, and I think that's what's really missing in this episode. A shot back to what she's been doing right after they took Danny away. However, most of this is talk about exactly what's going on with Danny, what it means to be the Iron Fist, the fact that Danny doesn't even know what it means, and the question of if Kung Long is what everything we've been made out to be, or are they just making weapons? It's an interesting concept. Of course, it's completely and totally BS because we find out about the whole hand reveal. But almost by accident, while meandering around, they found the villain they needed, Bushido. And you know what? This guy's pretty awesome. I don't know him from the comics, only know him from this. And in one episode, he's a bit of a manipulator. He's a leader of the hand. He's a martial artist that can fight Danny. He knows more about the Iron Fist than Danny does. And on top of all that, he can portray himself very Lex Luthor-like, as if he were trying to help people, as if he was trying to take down the evil corporations. If that's not the villain that this series needed, I don't know what is. Specifically, since I've been using the analogy the whole time anyway, he's Ra's al Ghul. It's the Batman Begins villain that Batman Begins already used so well. They could have used it here. But instead we had 10 hours leading up to this guy, and Danny's best friend showing up from Kung Lao. And then the most awesome combat sequence. You know what? People talk about the hallway fights all the time in all the Marvel Netflix shows, but this hallway fight was so badass. And it was Iron Fist and his best friend kicking serious ass, and they made it all the way outside, and then he couldn't summon the Iron Fist, because that seems to be the actual going theme of Iron Fist. He can't use his powers. And that's where the episode pretty much wraps up with them getting away, thanks to Colleen. But as we've gotten, like I said, about 10 hours into this, I more and more feel that this is an editor nightmare. This series, 10 hours in, feels like it would have made an awesome 3-hour movie, but is a really slow drag. And I get that there's a lot of things in here that they needed to introduce. Concepts that people who aren't familiar with the comics or comic book characters in general just wouldn't be comfortable with. But now that we have this friend that came from Kung Lao, maybe we can use him to get a flashback to him punching a dragon in the heart. Come on, punch a dragon in the heart. But that's actually the main weakness of this series. And maybe it's Netflix series in general. Because if you go back to Luke Cage had it a little bit, although probably not as much as the others. Daredevil Season 2 probably had it the least of them. But Jessica Jones and Daredevil Season 1 definitely suffered from this. It doesn't feel like they're making a comic book series because they love comic books. It almost feels like they wanted to create this series, but were ashamed of their comic book roots. Specifically, we have things where these characters laugh at the idea of wearing costumes, where they don't showcase the costumes. And yeah, that blurry flashback image almost looked like someone wearing the actual Iron Fist costume. I'll give them partial credit for that. The way in Luke Cage I gave really cool props for them finding a way to get the tiara in there. And after all is said and done, though, that's kind of the point of the comic book movie. And at this point, in the MCU overall, I cannot believe that you don't have the ability to just have characters be in their costumes. Costumes are the easiest thing in the world because they can literally say, hey, look, here's videotape of the Avengers fighting in Sokovia, Avengers fighting in the Civil War, and Avengers fighting in the New York incident. And look at what all of them are doing. They're all in costumes. Let's not forget, Spider-Man is moving around New York too. And Spider-Man's in full costume. And that movie's coming out very shortly, so I'm surprised that 10 hours in we haven't heard a reference to some kids spinning around on web slingers. But instead we get Batman Begins, only more so. We have Kung Lao, only we're not actually seeing Kung Lao. We have the idea of the immortal weapons given lip service, but he can't even summon the Iron Fist. And we have an overdone thing that needs another swipe by the writers and the editors. Overall, we have a series I am very disappointed in, although one I'm going to finish. offhand, unless something changes in the foreseeable future, which there's only 3 episodes to go, I think this is probably going to get a pretty bad rating from me. But those are my thoughts. What are yours? Have you made it 10 episodes in? Are you 10 hours into Iron Fist and thinking through what worked and what didn't? If so, leave me a comment. I'd love to hear what others are thinking, especially people who aren't professional critics. In the meantime, we've reached the part of the video where I need to ask you to like, share, and subscribe in order to help me build this community. And then catch me back here next time we have to talk about Iron Fist, as we walk through the heart of the stories we tell. Thanks for watching.